Sunday. We like to change things up, do things a little differently. A lot of times we'll have guest speakers also come out from various missions. And today I'm honored to invite Nick Rowe up to the stage to tell us a little bit about the mission work that the Gideons do. And I hope you all enjoy. Please come forward, Nick. And here also is a little lapel mic for our video recording. If you want to just pop that on your shirt collar there when you get a chance. And you'll be good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Glad to have you today.
Yeah, nice to be here. Never done this before. Hope I don't goof it up. Right up here anywhere?
Anywhere. Right on here.
Not very good at this. My wife usually does this kind of stuff for me. Yeah, it's good to be married, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know what I'd do without her, to tell you the truth. She's at church where we usually go today. Whoops. A little clumsy getting started here. I'll find my stuff. What a nice church, guys. It's awesome. Some churches you can just feel the love when you walk in the door, and this is definitely one of them, I'll tell you. Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. Like he said, my name is Nick Rowe. I live in Portland. Built houses for a lot of years. Built a lot of cabinets. After I was done building homes, built cabinetry, and built cabinets for one of the guys I was walking by in the hall there. It always kind of scares you when someone says, "Hey, you built my cabinets." You don't know what the reaction is going to be, but they're still holding up great. And then another lady goes, "You built my house up in Shepherd." I was really scared then, but luckily her husband's injured, so he can't come after me. But no, they love their house too. So I've been blessed. My whole life I've been a carpenter and worked with my hands. Got a chance to go to MSU and build cabinetry for them for the end of my career. Built a lot of presentation pieces for Tom Izzo and D'Antonio, and got to build presidents' offices, their desks and things. And they had just machinery that I could never have afforded in my own little shop, but it's quite a thing to see when you get into a big place like that, and every tool you want is there. So I was really blessed and really enjoyed that. But I retired about 3 years ago. But about 10 years before I retired, my wife got hired by MSU, and we were on the same hours, which at first I thought, boy, thank you, Lord, what a blessing. Me and the wife can ride to work together to East Lansing, 40 minutes each way there and back. And by the end of the first week, I'm going, really, God? Is this what you want for me? Because she's a great person. I love her dearly, but she's one of those drivers that's like just brake lights and, just screams it out and scares you to death. And my hair was jet black when I started driving to work with her, and now look at me. Within a week, I had white hair, it seemed like. But no, we wrapped it up pretty good, and I was blessed to be there. So anyway, I have 3 grown children, 10 grandchildren, and just getting older, enjoying life. Getting old isn't easy, is it, guys? I mean, we're all getting up there a little bit. Every day we get a little bit older, but it can be embarrassing at times too. I finally got a truck that had 4 doors. I've always had just a pickup truck with 2 doors. And my wife kept hounding me, get one with 4 doors. So I was at Menards, and I backed into one of them spots where you're supposed to load your material when you get done. And when I came back out, I went around the back of the truck and opened that first door I came to and jumped right in the back seat. And that's bad, but I did it twice. And to add insult to injury, the second time I got in the back seat and I looked over and there was an older lady sitting in the car next to me just shaking her head like this. And so I realized that I'm there. I'm old. But anyway, I want to tell you about the Gideon ministry. Your pastor did a beautiful job telling about it, and there's a lot to it, really. It's kind of amazing. It's about 250,000 Gideons across the world, it's a lot of people, and we give out 1 million Bibles every 3 days, and that's not just sending them out in a box saying, here's a box of Bibles. It's actually, we count them my hand to a person's hand, and that's every Gideon. That's the only way we hand them out, which is kind of cool because it goes from our heart to their heart, and it makes a difference. So it's a huge organization. but it's a real simple organization. Our only goal, is to help people find hope in their life. And the only true hope is Jesus, and we all know that. The world promises all kinds of hope, don't they? But they sure do fall short. Only Jesus can do that. So anyway, Mother Teresa said once, and this is pretty right down to the truth here, it's the greatest poverty the world will ever know is a life without hope. And boy, ain't that something. Because you see that kind of poverty even with people with a lot of money. Their hearts are empty. Their garage is full, but the heart is empty. So our goal as a Gideon is to get the Bible into God's hands. And you'd think in America, especially the richest nation on earth, everybody seems to have a Bible. Everybody seems to have Bibles on their coffee table or somewhere. And, the beauty of the Gideon ministry is timing, God's timing, because we try to get it in the hands when they need it. So here's something I want to tell you about. My job as a Gideon, there's several different things we all do. Mine is the jail ministry or prison ministry also at times. And that's pretty cool. But I'll tell you a little more about that in a while. But I wanted you to know we start out in 5th grade. I'm trying to find all these little Bibles. I got different color Bibles for you so you can see. The 5th grade kids, we hand out a little Bible like this to them. It's orange. Some of them have lockers on the front of them and stuff. Anybody here have a Gideon Bible when they were a kid? Ever handed to them? That guy? Yep. Isn't that something? Yeah, my daughter still has hers. I want to tell you about a thing. What we got that happens to the Gideons when we hand out Bibles, we get these things called returns. And what they are is letters sent back to us from people that Bible changed their life. And it's so cool to read some of these returns. So I wanted to read you one about a little 5th grade Bible. You would think, how much can a little Bible do anyway? I mean, really, there's not much there to it. It's tiny. But this guy named Arnie, I was building a house years ago, and there was an electrician on the job. He was an older guy. I was probably in my 30s. Arnie was probably 50, and I thought he was ancient. But, that's how you are when you're 30 years old. Arnie had a helper with him. And I could tell something was different. It was the only job I ever worked with this guy. And he didn't swear. And a lot of the contractors swear a lot. And that's sad, but that's just kind of the way it seems to go. And I noticed he didn't swear. And his helper was a nice young man. And I had to say something to Arnie. I said, man, you sure got a nice kid helping you there. He goes, yeah, he goes to my church. And I said, wow, that's cool. I said, I go to church too. And I said, I'm a Gideon also. I guess I've been a Gideon almost 36 years or something like that. It's been a while. But he goes, no kidding, you're a Gideon. He said to his helper, kid came back in from this truck. He says, go back out and get my Bible, bring it in. The kid ran out there and came back in with a Bible, and it looked like it had been dragged behind his truck for 1,000 miles. There was nothing left of it, hardly. Arnie said, let me tell you, Nick, when I was in 5th grade, our country school, the Gideons came, gave us all Bibles. He said, I read books. That's all I loved to do was read. He said, I couldn't get enough reading. And I read every book in our house. He said, I didn't know nothing about God. We never went to church. But he said, I went home and I read that Bible several times, cover to cover. And he said, you know what? I started walking to church. He said, my parents wouldn't go, but there was a church down the road and I walked there. And he said, later on that summer, I got saved. And he says, you know what, Nick? He says, my kids and most of my grandkids are all saved because of that one Bible. Isn't that amazing how God works? Arnie gave his heart to the Lord, and his kids see the way that he lived, and they all gave their hearts to the Lord too. So you really never know how far a thing can go like that. So that was 5th grade. I'm going to tell you about the military. I don't know if she's got that picture. It was kind of cool. I never knew they strapped them in their helmets like that. What's your name up there? Jen. Jen does a great job, doesn't she? So I know, she's awesome, but that's pretty cool. And we've got a lot of returns from military guys. I don't have the time to share all of them today, but so that's the next thing we do. Another thing we do is motel Bibles. Most people, if you've been in a motel, hopefully if you open a drawer, you'll see a nice full Gideon Bible there. Those are all donated too. And you just don't know what that's going to do in a person's heart when they're there by themselves and they're lonely. Maybe there's family issues. So we do that also. And then the next thing we do is hospital. And that's these little white ones. We give them to nurses on staff. This one's kind of a sad story, especially if you've got kids, but it's amazing what God can do. There was a nurse in Chicago, one of the big hospitals in the ER, and her job that day, I don't know how many years ago this has been now, was to take care of this young man that came in off the street. He was a homeless person, a drug addict, and he had done drugs to the point where he had perforated all of his intestines. He was bleeding out like a sponge. And they said to this lady who just got her Bible, she was a new Christian, they said, keep this young man comfortable and see if you can get a phone number or somebody to call, because he wasn't going to make it. So she did what she was supposed to do. She got a phone number from him. He said, well, you can call my mother. And she took that number to the desk where they make the phone calls from. She dialed the number, and the lady on the other end answered. She said, ma'am, I don't know you, but we think your son is here in the emergency room, and he doesn't have long to live, and we were hoping that you could come down. And the lady goes, are you kidding me? She said, that kid has been nothing but a pain for me since he was born. She says, why in the world would I come down there just to watch him die? And she hung up the phone, and she didn't know what to tell that young man. So she went to her locker, and she grabbed her little Gideon Bible, and she said, God, and this lady didn't know her Bible very well at all, because she was a new Christian. You said you'd never leave me or forsake me, Lord. Please help me. And she just opened her Bible up, put her finger on a page like that, walking back to his room, praying for God to help her. And the young man said, I have to find this in my Bible here, guys. Sorry, I'm a little clumsy this morning. The young man was in his room, and she lied to him. She said, your mother wasn't home. And she held up her little Bible, and she said, is there anything I can read to you from this little Bible? And the guy said, well, my grandma used to read me a story about a shepherd beside still waters, and I loved it. And guess where that lady's finger was? Right on the 23rd Psalm. And this is what she read. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down beside green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, and he restores my soul. And as she was reading that, he drifted off to eternity. And you know, guys, we never know if he's going to be in heaven when we get there, but there might be a good chance. And all because some nurse brought her Bible to work and kept it in her locker. So this church and many others provided that Bible. And we're so thankful for you guys letting us in here to tell what we can do with God's. We throw the seeds, all we do. We're like farmers. We have no idea if it's going to grow or if it's not. But if we don't throw, I think Wayne Gretzky said that. He goes, every shot you don't take, you miss. So we throw and we take every shot we can to reach somebody. And you guys make it possible for us. Another thing we do, which is really cool, we have a thing here called the Life Book. And this was really awesome. It was actually written by teenagers. And they're asking questions. This one, I think, is Matthew, the book of Matthew. And I'll bring a box of these down here for you guys to take home to your grandchildren and any young people that come to this church. But it's the book of Matthew, and it has questions written by teenagers, and they're answered in there. And it's so cool. We give this to teens, and we also give it to a lot of the people in the jails that they don't know their Bible. They don't know anything. So it's really good for them to get a chance to read and understand the Bible. Let's see. Oh, the life books. Jails. That's my job. Yeah, I look like I should belong in jail probably, and that's where they put me when I got there. It's like, Nick, would you like to go to the jails? And I said, why not? For some reason, I've always leaned a little bit that way. When I was in high school, I didn't ever go to jail, but it was just luck that I didn't. I didn't like steal or anything, but I did too many stupid things with my car, took out a few mailboxes and destroyed some property once in a while. And I used to work in the office of all places. They had me working in the office for 1 hour collecting absence slips. Bad job for me, because what happened was I would figure that system out real quick, and I would go and I would open the door in the classroom I was supposed to be in. I'd reach in and grab my absence slip with my name on it and throw it away. And I'd go look at cars all day. And somehow I graduated. Isn't that amazing? So the jail ministry was a perfect fit for me. And here's what I do. The Ionia County Jail and all the prisons that we have in Ionia County, I've been in a lot of them. I go to the jail every Sunday, actually, and speak to the inmates. Been to the prison and did services there, and watched too many TV shows, I guess, because had a great service. There's a lot of saved people in prisons. There really is. This African-American guy came up to me after the service. He said, "Man, that was really great. That was fun." And I go, "Yeah, that was neat. I'm glad I got to get in here and meet you." And I didn't know what to say, because what do you say to somebody? And I said, "How long are you in here for?" Because I shouldn't have said that. His face just went pale when I asked him that, and I thought, "Oh man, this guy ain't getting out." He goes, "I ain't getting out." He said, "But you know what? God's using me in here." He said, "I write letters to my nieces and nephews." He said, "And tell them about God." He said, "God uses me in a mighty way here." So we take Bibles into the jails, and a lot of people do get saved. So even though they've done some terrible things, we all know, just like the person that hung on the cross beside Jesus, that anybody can be saved right to the last minute. So we're doing our best to get the word to those people also. Something that I do every Sunday is I give out these little brown testaments to the men, and there's a little blue one to the ladies. And what's kind of cool about a Gideon Bible is in the beginning of the thing, it says God's help in a crisis, and it has all kinds of categories: depressed, lonely, guilty, and they have the pages of Scripture for those guys to look up and find out how God wants them to react to those feelings that they're having. So it's really great. It's really great that I can hand that to them. And it's not all bad work or sad work in a jail. One Sunday I went in there, and I used to always take our dog with me. I had a red truck, just a two-door truck, so I always knew what door to get in back then. And our dog Chauncey is a golden doodle, and he's a blonde one, and he's full size. So when he would set up in the seat, he was the same height as me, maybe even a little taller. And from behind my truck, it looked like a blonde lady riding around with me. And some of the guys in town would say, "Who's that blonde riding around with you, Nick?" And I'd say, "Oh, it's my dog." And because my wife's a brunette. Anyway, so every Sunday, me and Chauncey would go to the jail. And I never thought about it, but I'd always park in a spot, and they could see with their transom windows. They're kind of up high, but if they're on their bunk, they could see my truck. And so I'm handing out a Bible to a guy one day, and he goes, "Hey," he says, "who's the blonde out there?" And I said, and I realized, because so many people had asked me that same thing, I said, "Well," I said, "she looks good from here, but up close, she's a real dog." And, he just had this puzzled look on his face, and I thought, I'm just going to leave it at that with him. But anyway, so you have some fun once in a while, too. And the guards are great. The guards are so nice to us. They love it, because I started this one myself, but it was the guy that showed me how to do the jail ministry. Most of you here have probably never been in a jail. It's not a terrible place, but it's no place you want to be. There's glass door or glass walls looking into the cells, steel frame doors, little tiny opening on the door about this big that opens down, and that's how they hand them their dinner plates. And anyway, and that's how I talk to them for the Bibles. But this old guy that showed me how said, "This is what you do, Nick." And he would open up the door or the little window, and who needs a Bible in there? There might be 5, 6 guys in each cell. And if they ask for a Bible, you give it to them. If not, move on to the next cell. So you do that. And then there's usually one cell that's ladies, and the same thing with them. And I did that for 3 or 4 weeks after he showed me, and he said, "You're on your own." He'd done it for years, and he was ready to move on. So anyway, I'm going along, and I just knew I wasn't doing what God wanted me to do. I just wasn't. It didn't feel right. And I kept praying, "God, what can I do?" And, I thought, what matters to me? If I was in that jail, what would matter to me? And all I could think of was my family, my wife and my kids. So the next Sunday I went there, opened up the window as usual, and asked anybody need a Bible, and everybody just, the peer pressure is terrible in a jail. Nobody wants to be the weakest guy in the cell. So it's like, "Nope, don't need it." and I could see this guy on the left, and his eyes were red. I knew he'd been crying. And I said, hey, do you have anybody at home you want prayer for, like your wife or your kids? And it was just like a light switch. He just kind of looked at me like he couldn't believe what I said. And I said, I only want first names. But I said, well, I'll pray for them every day this week, I promise. He says, yeah, pray for my wife. And he gave me her name. He says, pray for my kids. And he gave me their names. And by golly, every guy in that cell, once that guy did that, every guy in that cell said, pray for my family. So that's been going on for almost 30 years, at least 35 years. And every week I bring home that list of prayer requests because, for one, like I told you about the guy on the cross, anybody can find God, even in the last day. But I can't imagine what these kids are going through with dad in jail or their moms in jail. And a lot of them ask for prayer for their parents or grandparents dealing with cancer. And it kind of is nice because when they are done, they know that we care about them. As Christians, we still care about those people, and God loves them. And I'll tell you what, when you get there and look at them, they don't think anybody could love them. Nobody, especially God. But I think when we leave, they know. They know there's still value there in them. So anyway, that's how the jail ministry goes. This is a Spanish Bible that we give out a lot of these because we have a lot of farmers and migrant workers that need a Bible, and I see a few of them in prison. Most of the Bibles I hand out are prison or Bible or jail. I mean, military, like that guy with the helmet. I should have held this up. Sorry about that. I'm off my mark. But this is the military one, and these are cool. There's one for every branch of service, slightly different colors. But there's a lot of these soldiers, they're scared to death because they're young kids, and a lot of them haven't really been away from home much. So these are really great. Something else, and this is my last one because I don't want to bore you guys to death, but colleges too. We hand them out at colleges. Like I worked at MSU. Once a year, the Gideons come in and they stand around there. There might be 50 Gideons scattered around MSU, just standing there and hand out Bibles to whoever wants one. I never did it because I worked there and I didn't want it to seem like a conflict of interest kind of thing, which was really probably a cop-out a little bit. But I didn't do it, and I wished I had. But I wanted to tell you a return that came back that just blows my mind. And this was within a couple years ago. Ever since fentanyl's been around. This young college kid took a Bible. He had been in college, it was his freshman year. So he took a Bible from a Gideon standing there on the sidewalk and put it in his pocket and reminded him of his mom. He'd been going to church his whole life, but his mom said since he went to college, he came home a few weekends, and then pretty soon he was very rarely coming home, and she could tell something had changed, something was different. And she didn't know what, and she was concerned about him. But, you know, what do you do as a parent? You got to let them fly out of the nest, you know, so they say. But anyway, this young man was getting into drugs, and at night, on Saturday nights, him and his, there was 4 people that lived in this apartment. They would sit around and pass some kind of a pipe around, and that doggone Bible kept working on his conscience all day long. And he kept thinking, I know this ain't right. I know this ain't right what I'm doing. He knew his life was getting off track. He was sitting around in a circle that Saturday night, and here comes the pipe again. And he just finally came to him, and he stood up, and he said, you know what, guys, I can't do this anymore. And he just walked away, and he went to bed. And anyway, that was a Saturday night about 2 in the morning when they were doing this routine. And about 2 in the morning, his mom woke up. His mom wrote this letter, so we know it's true. She said, about 2 in the morning, I woke up, and God just told me, I got to pray for that young man. I got to pray for my son, something just, people here have felt that urge at times where you just feel like a need to pray. And she did, and she prayed. She didn't even know what to pray for, but she just prayed for her son. And she finally quit after quite a while of praying for him. But then the next morning, there was a knock on the door, Sunday morning. There's her son standing there. And she said, hey, what are you doing home? He goes, well, Mom, and he started to cry. And she said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Mom," he goes, "I've been doing some bad things." He said, "Last night at 2 in the morning, he said, I decided I'd had enough. I got a Gideon Bible handed at school. And he said, I just knew I couldn't do it no more." And he said, "Mom, last night 2 of my friends died of fentanyl poisoning in that drug that was being passed around that night." So she thanks God for that little Gideon Bible that spurred him back to remembering where he's supposed to be with God. So these little Bibles do a pretty good job. And as long as we're faithful to hand them out, we never know. We throw the seed, we hope it grows. I know it's really hard to share our faith sometimes. It gets easier as I get older, but I worked with a guy at MSU, had a good story for me. He was a Christian too, and he said, "Nick, what are you doing this Sunday?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to a church to talk." And I'd always be nervous. I'd say, "Geez, I hope it goes good." And he'd say, "Well, here's what I remember this story." He said, "It's a pirate story, but it'll tell you how to dress when you do these things." And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. His name was Steve. He was really a comedian. But he goes, "Well, Nick, there was this pirate." He said, and he says he did what pirates do. They were pillaging and stealing, and they were heading away on their boat. And he goes, the cabin boy came running up to him as they were headed away from where they just robbed all this stuff. And he said, the cabin boy said, Captain, he said, "there's a big ship on the horizon coming towards us, and it's got big guns." And the pirate looked at the cabin boy and he said, "Go get my red shirt." That's why I wore a red shirt today. He goes, "Why?" The cabin boy goes, "Why?" He goes, "In case I get shot when we're fighting, I don't want the men to be discouraged." And so the cabin boy ran and got his red shirt, and he brought it back to him. And then a little while later, the cabin boy comes running up again. He goes, Captain, there's 4 ships on the horizon now with big guns." And he said, "They're bearing down on us." And the pirate looks at him. He says, "Go get my brown pants." So anyway, I guess if you get too scared to share your faith, you just wear a red shirt and brown pants in case anything happens. So that's kind of a silly story, but I just want to say thank you to you guys again for letting us come in, tell what the Gideons do. It is a good ministry. The beauty of the Gideon ministry that I think is one of the beautiful things is every penny that we raise from churches buys a Bible. None of it goes towards administration costs. None of it goes for anything but a Bible, and that's awesome to see 100% is used for what God intended it to be used for. So I just wanted to let you know that every Sunday I'll do my best for you to get the names and the prayer requests for those people. And the other guys are in the group. There's like 15 of us Gideons in Ionia County, and then probably 30 counting the wives and stuff. But they get in the hotels, the motels, the doctor's offices. Everybody's got a job. And I just want to say thank you for providing so that we can keep doing our best for you guys and for the Lord. So
Nick, if
that's
they
it.
want to learn more, where's the best place our members can go if they want to learn more about your organization?
We can always use more members. And we meet at Ionia at a small church over there in the morning on Saturdays, and we pray for all the pastors in the county, including this guy right here. I knew his name, but I never met him before. But we pray for you every Saturday. But as far as knowing, I'm going to leave some literature here for you. I got it somewhere. I'll try to get some information to you where to contact the Gideons. I should have brought that with me. But yeah, we do have a huge organization, and if you want to, because you can actually become, here it is. I had it covered up. Partner with the Gideons. You don't have to be a Gideon and go out and do all that. If you don't want to, you can actually just partner with us, and then you get newsletters and everything else that tells you about worldwide Gideon activities, which are pretty phenomenal. America didn't used to be a mission ground, but it is anymore. But yeah, overseas too, Africa and all the countries. So it's all good. I'm going to leave this with you guys, and then I will drop off a box, if you'd like, a box of these life books. And you can these we don't hand out one to one. We can just put them in churches, and they're free. So whenever you need more, we bring you more. So it's really a nice service for you. So, all right, thanks you guys. Appreciate everything.